So congratulations to the Detroit Pistons on getting the #1 pick in this loaded 2021 NBA draft. I'm low-key happy for y'all even though we're rival fan bases. Now unfortunately for my Bulls, we continue to take L as our pick fell all the way to number 8, which means Orlando gets it. But Orlando also has some bad luck as their pick fell all the way outside the top 3 down to number 5. But enough talk about how the lottery played out. Instead, let's focus on what player each team should draft. But before we get too deep into the video, do your boy a solid and hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel, as your support will be much appreciated. I'm getting pretty close to 100 subscribers. I'm pretty happy about that. I know a lot of people think 100 ain't much, but hey, I'm pretty satisfied with 100. I'm gonna go from 100 to 1,000 hopefully, and hopefully I continue to build. But I'm getting pretty close to 100 subscribers, so subscribe to the channel, help your boy out, help your boy grow. And with all that out of the way, go ahead and drop the intro. At 1, the Pistons would select Cade Cunningham. This to me is the most obvious selection. There's really no debating it at this point. Cade is basically the consensus #1. Whether I agree or not is irrelevant. Now, I do believe Cade will be a very good NBA player. He's definitely the surest thing in the draft. I don't really see boom/bust potential or any scenario where he is not at least a top 5 player in this class when we look back 10 years from now. He's a do-everything kind of wing, and yes, I said wing. I don't believe he should be the point guard for your team, rather a point forward. His handle and acceleration are questionable, but regardless of those minute concerns, he's a good pick for Detroit, and I think he's going to be a very good player. It could be, the catalyst to getting that franchise turned around. At 2, I got the Rockets selecting Evan Mobley, and if it wasn't for Cade Cunningham, then he would probably have gone #1. He reminds me of a mix between AD and Chris Bosh. I know that's a little weird, but that's who I somewhat compare him to. He's tall, lengthy, and has the potential to guard 2 through 5 and maybe some ones. Also has potential as a shooter, good mechanics on the shot, very fluid athlete, moves very well for his size. Pair him up in the front court with Christian Wood might not seem ideal, but it actually isn't all that bad. Christian Wood is already a stretch big who can play the 4, and I think both him and Mobley are versatile enough that having them work together in the front court shouldn't cause too much issues with spacing or guarding the perimeter. I think it will just work out between the two, and I really like that pick for the Rockets, so they should go with Evan Mobley. At 3, I got the Cavs taking Jalen Green. Green is one of my favorite prospects in the draft and has a good chance of being the best player in the draft when we look back in 5 to 10 years. He has a case for being the best 3-level scorer in the draft, but besides his great scoring potential, he's a tremendous athlete with a great first step and just a lot of bursts in general. Has upside on defensive end, also seems to be really competitive, kind of has that Ja Morant swagger as far as confidence is concerned. He's not backing down from anyone, which I love to see, because for him to back it up, he's going to have to put that work in. Now, he does need to improve as a passing playmaker, which I believe is possible because he makes good passes when he's looking for them, but his score first mentality makes it so that he doesn't always see the pass or want to make the pass. He wants to score. He kind of has that Kobe, I'm going to get it in, I'm confident in my ability, I know you can't stop me kind of attitude, and that might hold him back in some regards as a playmaker. That is the biggest concern when it comes to Jalen Green, and it is a concern to have. It's something to be scared about. We don't want him to be a black hole on offense. But if Cleveland stays pat at 3, this is the guy. At 4, I got the Toronto Raptors selecting Jalen Suggs. The Toronto Raptors must be blessed or something, because in the 1 year that they struggled, they got a top 4 pick, and it ends up being Jalen Suggs. So while they're more than likely losing a great leader in Kyle Lowry, they get an immediate replacement in Jalen Suggs, who, like Lowry, is just a winning player. Suggs is going to be a great pickup, should fit right into Toronto's system. He's probably the best overall floor general in the class because of his leadership and attitude towards the game. Very similar to Cade as far as a player who's good at a lot of things but doesn't seem to be great at anything. But overall, I think this will be the best selection for Toronto. Wrapping up the top 5, I got the Magic selecting Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga is an extremely raw prospect who has only started playing basketball around the age of 16, but has really impressed a lot of scouts in the short term. He shows flashes of being a point forward with a solid handle, but the biggest draws to Kuminga come from his size, speed, strength, and athleticism, along with the idea that he possesses the most potential in the class since he's still learning the game as well as how to best utilize his God-given physical tools. His fit isn't ideal for the Orlando Magic, but since they do possess a second lottery pick inside the top 10, they have some room to gamble. At 6, I'm making a bold prediction, and I have OKC selecting Josh Giddey. Now, this one is a hot take, but I believe that Giddey is going to be a big draft riser. Some team is going to fall in love with him. They're going to see this big 6'8", smooth point guard with great vision that translates into great playmaking. And in all honesty, is probably the best passer in the class. To add that, he's also a pretty good finisher and can finish with both hands, no sweat. He's somewhat of a project player who needs to work on his shooting, and there are also concerns about his defensive upside as well as ball handling because of his wingspan being 6'7", even though he's 6'8". Got long legs, short arms. Smaller guards can undercut him, which might be a turnover concern. If they get up under him, they take him off. Guys like Kyle Lowry or guys like Chris Paul, those kind of guys, Mike Conley, those kind of guys who got some defensive upside in them might get under him. Even Marcus Smart, he's not that small of a guard, but he might be able to get up under him. Players like that might get some concern to selecting Josh Giddey because those type of players can really get into him, get under him, make him turn over the ball, turn him into a turnover machine. Those are the big concerns about Josh Giddey. But me personally, Josh Giddey is one of my favorite players in this class. I love Josh Giddey. He passes the eye test for me. He looks special. Kind of reminds me of LaMelo Ball. I think OKC, they got time. They're not in no rush. They're collecting all these picks. They might as well go for a very high upside player because they fell outside the top 5. Why not get a player who 5 to 10 years when we look back, like, how did he not go in the top 3? He could be that guy in this class. That could be Josh Giddey. So I don't see how you could pass up on him. Y'all wanted LaMelo Ball. Y'all was thinking about making trades to, collect assets to make a run to get LaMelo Ball from the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not saying this guy is LaMelo Ball, but I'm saying that I think he's special. So I would definitely take him at number 6. At 7, I got the Warriors selecting Davion Mitchell. If the Warriors make selections at both their picks, I expect them to take players who are more NBA ready. The reason being is that they don't seem to possess the patience to deal with players who need a little bit more time establishing their footing in the NBA. You saw that last year with James Wiseman, so someone like Davion Mitchell will be better because he should be able to step in and contribute right away, especially on the defensive end of the floor, as well as provide some scoring and secondary playmaking in the second unit or just in the first unit with Steph, Clay, and them boys. So that's the guy I will go with. At 8, I got the Orlando Magic selecting Moses Moody. Moody is this class's premier 3 and D player with glimpses of 3-level scoring mixed in. I really like Moody. He's lengthy with a nice jump shot, and to me, he's one of the safer picks. Should be able to guard 2 through 4, is below average as an athlete and somewhat grounded as a player, which means he doesn't have any bunnies, aka he can't jump. This weakness makes it less of a threat to finish at the basket, but overall, I like him and think he'll be a good choice on the Magic's part to shore up their wing rotation. At 9, I got the Sacramento Kings taking Scottie Barnes. To most people, having Scottie be taken this late in the draft is blasphemous, but honestly, I wouldn't even take him here. But it's unrealistic to have him fall any further than 9. Now, I get the appeal of Scottie Barnes. A lot of people call him a more athletic Draymond. I like to call him a bigger Andre Iguodala, but that's me. He's a defensive playmaking wing who can definitely guard 1 through 4 and maybe some 5s. Overall, he's probably the most impactful defender in the class, no disrespect to Mobley, but with all that praise we give him for having such a big impact on that end of the floor, his offensive deficiency is a big problem for me. Because outside of his passing, he has no offensive game. Yeah, he can finish, but he needs to be put in the right spot to finish. He can't create his own offense, he can't shoot, and beyond the inability to shoot, he's not all that confident in his shot and hesitates when he shoots, which are major concerns for me, and gives me that boom/bust potential. So with Scottie, you're either getting a stud or you're getting the next Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and that's why I got him at number 9 to the Sacramento Kings. At 10, I got the Pelicans selecting Jalen Johnson, another one of my favorite prospects in the draft. I like Jalen Johnson. I believe that under the right circumstances, Jalen could have been one of the better players in the draft. He's another point forward, which his class has quite a few of in the first round. He has a little more offensive savvy than Scottie Barnes and projects to be a pretty good defender as well. Not as good as Barnes, but decent. The big thing I like about Johnson is that he's confident, like he's not a shooter, but he will shoot it. He believes in his ability, he's poised, and sometimes it comes off as arrogant, which rubs some the wrong way, but I believe he has the potential to back it up. And again, the fit isn't perfect for the New Orleans Pelicans. They really need some shooting. They really need some somebody who can really shoot it, honestly. Brandon Ingram's a pretty good shooter. Lonzo's a pretty good shooter. But Zoe, you know, he's not somebody who's going to come off the dribble and knock it down for real. He's more of a spot-up shooter. Ingram is someone who can come off the dribble and hit it, but he doesn't take a lot of threes. I think he takes about 5, maybe 4 a game. So, more spacing would be ideal. But, the talent just outweighs everything at this circumstance. I mean, he could be such a good player. What I see from him is he can be someone like Justice Winslow, but what we thought Justice Winslow was going to be. The Justice Winslow the Celtics were trying to trade for. Remember, that's the guy I think he can probably be at the NBA level. I don't know if it's going to be for the Pelicans. I don't know if it's going to have to be him getting traded somewhere else. But if I'm the Pelicans, I take a chance on this kind of prospect, and I got him going at number 10. At 11, I got the Charlotte Hornets selecting Alperen Sengun. This is yet another reach, but Charlotte does need an actual big. Cody Zeller is solid, but often injured, and he's a free agent, so we don't know if he's coming back. And I don't think PJ Washington as the full-time 5 is ideal. Now, there's a couple things that Charlotte can do besides going with Sengun, but honestly, Sengun has a case for the best fit and best available. He's a mobile playmaking 5 that I will compare to Domantas Sabonis, just more athletic and potentially a higher defensive upside. The major concern is that he is slow-footed with bad lateral quickness, so he really can't guard on the perimeter, as well as he's best used as a drop big. As you can see, many drop bigs got exposed in the playoffs, but regardless, I believe he adds to an already decently constructed Hornets team that is actually looking deeper than people probably realize. I really look how the Hornets look on paper. They got LaMelo, they got, Devontae Graham. They got to re-sign Devontae Graham. Terry Rozier's up for extension. Malik Monk looked really good, but he's still going to be on a very good contract, especially if he continues to improve. They got Miles Bridges, who LaMelo loves. PJ Washington, very solid, one of the best players in his draft. There's just a lot going over there in Charlotte. They got a lot of good potential. They could bring Cody Zeller, who's been with the team, been a consummate professional. I probably said that word wrong, so don't blame me too much. But yeah, I really like what the Charlotte Hornets are building over there. For once in my life, I'm excited to see where the Charlotte Hornets is going. And I think that Alperen Sengun could make a better selection than other players available around this pick. At 12, I got the Spurs taking Franz Wagner. To me, he just seems like a Spurs type of guy. And just like Moses Moody, he's in the mold of a 3-and-D player with more focus on the D. Because he's actually not that great of a shooter at times. He's pretty inconsistent, but has pretty good defensive awareness and IQ. One of the players who are annoying because they make all the correct rotations, reads offenses well, get into the right spot and stuff like that. He also has some playmaking chops and shows potential on the short roll, and honestly could be a steal at 12. I don't see a traditional star, but he could be a star role player, aka a high-end starter. I would somewhat compare him to Andre Karolinko without the confidence, but still very promising prospect, especially towards the end of the lottery, that has a higher floor than both Jalen Johnson and Scottie Barnes, in my opinion. At 13, I have the Indiana Pacers selecting Keon Johnson. Keon is definitely an interesting pick. He is somewhat comparable to Jalen Green, who is a consensus top 5 prospect in this draft. He's a great athlete who's good in transition and a finish at the rim. He also competes on the defensive end, projects to be an above average man-to-man defender. He is somewhat of a project and needs to work on his shooting and being more decisive on offense, because while he's athletic and possesses good burst and decent acceleration, his first step isn't as great as it should be with his tools. This might be due to him not knowing what he wants to do with the ball, but at 13, his flaws can be somewhat ignored, and I am confident he will provide value at the NBA level. Now, with the final pick of the lottery, I have the Golden State Warriors selecting Corey Kispert. Now, I don't believe the Warriors are going to select 2 players in the lottery. I just don't see that happening. But right now, I have to treat it as though they will make a selection here at 14. And while I would love to say they take James Bouknight, I know they want the more NBA-ready player who's just going to fit in, and that's Kispert, who I would somewhat compare to Cameron Johnson. He's a low-ceiling, high-floor kind of player who will probably play the 3 and small ball 4. Really good shooter, and while not good on defense, shouldn't be an extreme liability because of his good size. He's a sturdy body and should perform from day one. And this will basically wrap up my video. This one was just covering kind of how the lottery is going to play out. I know I didn't really mention that in the beginning. And if you made it to the end, I really appreciate that. I'm going to probably do a part 2 to this video covering picks 15 through 30 and just finish up the first round. If y'all like this and you want me to continue going, I might even go into second round. But I really don't know much about who's going to be going in the second round. Just a couple players I got my eyes on, because my Bulls, we don't have any first round picks, but we got a second round pick, and I have a player in mind, and I might talk about him in a separate video, like in a sleeper video, a guy who's gonna go in the second round who's gonna end up being a sleeper, and we're gonna be thinking about like, oh, why didn't somebody in the first round select them years from later? Like, that's the kind of guy, if he ends up making the final roster, I think he has potential. I might talk about him in a separate video. But again, if you like this video, do your boy a solid, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, as your support would be much appreciated. And until the next one, peace.